In this guide, I'm going to talk about ship cloaking. As soon as you've researched the tech, your science ships will automatically get cloaks installed on them for free, and it will allow you to use this activate cloaking button on your ships. While you're cloaked, assuming you aren't detected anyways, you won't be able to enter combat, you'll be functionally invisible to other empires, and all closed borders will open up for that ship. If you want your military ships to be cloaked, you need to add it to their design. One thing to note is you can only cloak if every ship in the fleet has cloaking capabilities. So in this example, I have a cruiser here that doesn't have any cloaks on it, so I need to remove the cruiser from the fleet, and then this fleet with just these corvettes that have cloaks can enable cloaking. Cloaked fleets, once you decloak, also have a cooldown before you can re-enable cloaking. This isn't usually that big of a deal, but it does mean you can't just instantly toggle it on and off really quickly. While you're cloaked, you do get a penalty to your ship speed and hyper jump charge time. Another penalty is shield nullification. There are ways to reduce this nullification so it doesn't remove all of your shields. But say in this example, our science ship by cloaking has no shields currently. And so you would need to decloak and then wait for natural shield regeneration to get them back. So if you're going to use cloaks on your military ships, and then you immediately disable cloaks and launch into a battle, you're going to be entering that battle with no shields. Generally speaking, it might be a good idea to not decloak immediately into a battle, but give your ship some time to get their shields back. An option would be to build your ships around that and only use armor. Shields and cloaks both draw a lot of power, so we would have to remove something if we wanted both, like downgrade our sensors in order to keep our power sufficient. So that's another reason where kind of cloaks and armor pair well together. Another thing to note is that bigger ships are harder to cloak. And so your default basic cloaking field generator only has a strength of 1. This means that you can only put this on corvettes and frigates. But destroyers are too big for the basic cloaking field generators. Each tier of ship reduces the cloaking strength of the module by 1. A corvette with a tier 2 cloak is going to have a cloaking strength of 2. A destroyer with a tier 2 cloak is only going to have a cloaking strength of 1. A higher cloaking strength decreases the penalty on your ship speed. But the main thing that more cloaking strength does is, of course, make it harder to detect your ships. Let's talk about detection. So starbases have a detection strength stat, and you can increase this by adding detection array modules to your starbases. Having a detection strength will allow you to detect any ships that have a equal or lower cloaking strength. So this fleet that has a cloaking strength of 5 would not be detected by this starbase, but this fleet over here that only has a cloaking strength of 1 would be detected. And when a fleet is detected, it instantly is forced to decloak. If they have their borders closed to you, it will force your ships to go missing in action. Or if, say, maybe you're at war, then now they can attack you. If you have enough intel on another empire, you can actually see where they have cloaking detection, and it will give you a warning that you will be decloaked if you enter that system. But if you don't have enough intel, it won't give you a warning and you'll just be decloaked. If you want to increase your cloaking detection strength on one of your star bases, but you don't want to dedicate more modules to detection arrays, you can actually use your science ships to assist cloaking detection, assuming you have the technology that unlocks this option. And this will increase the cloaking detection of that star base. And the amount of additional cloaking detection strength that you get is based on the skill of the scientist that's doing the job. However, I wouldn't worry about this for single player because I haven't actually ever seen the AI use cloaking. Wait a minute. Anyhow, jokes aside, the AI actually does use cloaking. You can see this particularly because your allies will give you information on their cloaked fleets. However, I've personally never seen them use this for military ships, only on science ships. Detection technology is probably only really useful in multiplayer. Single player, it's not really worth the module slots on your star bases. Maybe 1 or 2 here or there. Things like more defenses or anchorages are just going to be way more valuable for you. The cloaking strength of the fleet is dependent on the cloaking strength of the lowest in the fleet. So we have some of these ships with the cloaking strength of 5 and other of these ships with the cloaking strength of 1. So the fleet has a cloaking strength of 1. So you can determine what is the purpose of this cloaked fleet that you're designing. Do you need the extra power that something like a cruiser provides, and then you have to be careful to not be detected? Or do you go for really hidden with the high cloaking strength? A thing I really like to use cloaking for is, say you're about to go to war with an empire, but you don't have full intel on their systems. Unfortunately, you cannot make claims on systems that you don't have intel on. If you try to make claims while you're already at war, it adds 100% penalty to the cost of the claims. So you ideally want to make the claims before you declare the war. That is if you are the aggressor. If it's defensive, then you don't get this penalty. So it can be nice to use like a science ship or something to go into their borders while it's closed and get intel on those systems so you can make claims on them before you start the war, rather than needing to eat that penalty or do a second war. Another really powerful use for cloaking is gaining intelligence through active reconnaissance. If you do this on another empire's world, you can gain intelligence on them relative to the level of the capital building. So generally speaking, trying to do it on their capital world or other really developed colonies is going to get you more intel. So we're getting 40 intelligence from active reconnaissance. So this can help you get this style of intel, but then there's also just manual scouting, as in you can use your cloaked ship to get direct sensor data on stuff. Like say in this capital, we can see the size of their fleet, what they're doing with their planet and their economy, how many armies do they have on their planet, where is that one fleet that disappeared deep into their lines, are they repairing their ships or are they somewhere else? You know, if you're about to go into a conflict, it can be really useful to send a cloaked ship forward, get sensor data on what are they doing with their fleets, and make informed decisions based on that information. Cloaks can also be a fantastic way of bypassing closed borders. Say, for example, you end up in a situation where you're at war with an empire that you don't share a direct border with, and the only way you can actually get to their territory is through an empire that has its borders closed to you. This can be particularly annoying if they have border access through this neutral power that's not at war, but you don't have border access through that neutral power. So they can attack you, but you can't attack them back. You could get some kind of military fleet that's cloaked. For now, I just have a science ship, but you could send that fleet through those closed borders and be able to get to your enemy. And then once you make it to the other side, you decloak and fight as you normally would. Another great use for cloaks as well is not just bypassing closed borders from other empires, but just general space threats. Say, for example, I wanted to get past this hostile fleet. I don't want to engage it in combat. I want to maybe go explore this natural wormhole or something. You can use the cloaks to slip past without getting into a fight. And then you can get to wherever you actually wanted to go, do whatever you wanted to do on the other side of that. The one exception to this is fallen empires are going to see right through your cloaks. One thing to note, though, is that cloaks do not allow you to bypass FTL inhibitors. So one potential strategy that you could use is maybe you have one of your bigger, more heavy-hitting fleets that doesn't have cloaks on it. You use that to break through any star bases that have FTL inhibitors, and then your cloaked fleets can sneak around their territory and get somewhere else. You can bypass FTL inhibitors before you're at war. So if you want to lay an ambush, you want to get your fleets into position before you declare the war, because once you're at war, then those stations are going to enable their FTL inhibitors. So one potential way that you can use your cloaked fleets is basically to divert their attention, away from something. Say, for example, you get your cloaked fleet into position in their territory, and then you decloak and attack. So you can use it to maybe form a distraction force, go around, capture some systems or undefended planets, and be really annoying. And then if any fleets are about to engage your cloaked ship, if they don't have the detection strength for it, just recloak and slip away before they're able to actually get you into a battle you don't want to fight. So you can basically use your cloaked ships to harass, create some kind of distraction, and that can maybe split up some of their fleets so you don't have to deal with them all at once, kind of divide and conquer type strategy. Anyhow, with that, that's everything I wanted to say. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.